JT Show.
What's going on, you sexy beasts, and welcome to another episode of the Smash JT Show that airs every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. The developer of Middle-earth Shadow of War has announced that they're removing all the microtransactions throughout the entire game. And if you guys have watched my channel for a while, you've seen that I have bitched and moaned about these microtransactions specifically in this game for a very long time because I felt like they were extremely unnecessary and put in just to try to steal money from those people that didn't know any better. And now the developers have come forward saying, hey, we're removing all the microtransactions from this game. We're the good guys. We're sorry that this thing was put into the game in the first place. We're fixing it to make the experience better. But it's strange to me because if you look back at the initial launch of Shadow of War, that's when they said they implemented all these microtransactions for player choice because people demanded, they wanted more options. And by putting the microtransactions in the game originally, it would enhance the Nemesis system. It would give you the possibilities of doing far more in the game that you'd ever be able to do. But I think most of us saw right through that for the actual truth. And what ultimately ended up happening was they put so much into the microtransactions and they based the game around that it destroyed the game from its core. It ruined the entire experience. It makes me wonder if this is going to be a trend going forward, and this is the question I have for you guys. Because they made their money in the initial launch window with these loot boxes, loot crates, and everything else in the microtransactions, destroying the entire Nemesis system and obtaining the orcs to begin with, now they're moving on to a place where they're not requiring microtransactions. In fact, they removed them completely because they made their money from the initial launch window. Is this going to set a trend for other AAA titles in the future where they will have microtransactions at the launch and then blame it on, oh, we thought it would be like this and it wasn't, so we're actually removing them now, hoping for another round of sales at that point? We saw EA do this a little bit with Star Wars Battlefront 2 as well, but that was a lot closer to the launch than Shadow of War. Just want to throw that out to you guys on your thoughts on how they handled that situation and what it means for the future of gaming. And speaking of the future of gaming, next up I want to talk about Rocket League and what Psyonix, the creator of Rocket League, had to say about the future of the content. It's not gonna be a sequel, at least not right now. They plan to have DLC coming for the foreseeable future to keep the game fresh, add new vehicles, add new levels, add new game modes. It makes me wonder, are sequels even necessary? Now clearly in some cases, yes, obviously. I'm not talking about the ones where you do a complete overhaul of the entire game, make completely new worlds in it. I'm talking about the basic games. Games like FIFA, games like Madden, games like Rocket League, sporting games especially. This day and age, with graphical upgrades honestly minimal from game to game, unless it's a gigantic leap from system to system, do we really need a sequel? Or would you guys be okay with just paying for the DLC for an updated roster? Should these games go free to play? Which is a whole nother question, but it all points to the future of gaming and what we're gonna see a year down the road, 2 years down the road, 5 to 10 years down the road. The entire gaming landscape is going to be different from what we see today. And I wonder if a part of that's going to be no more sequels for the most part. I mean, outside of what I already talked about, are sequels a thing of the past? Be interested on your take with that. And for this week's smashing video of the week, we have something so fantastic that I would almost tell you to stop watching me and go watch that if you haven't seen it already. But don't do that because you know you enjoy this. The smashing video of the week is brought to us by Alan Ungar, which on his channel, it's the only video he's ever made and he already has 11,000 subscribers from it. The video itself has over 2 million views and it's absolutely incredible. Hollywood style, Hollywood caliber, Hollywood quality. This is top notch all the way for about 15 minutes of your time. It is absolutely incredible. A joyride from start to finish. So if you haven't watched it yet, definitely check it out. I'll put a link in the description.
Sully, do you know what this means?
Kid, whenever you start doing this, nobody knows what you mean. Looks like it's gonna have to wait. They found your friends. Get the hell out of there.
Next up, the biggest thing in the news this week was toxicity in the video game community, which I feel like it's not the first time that's been the biggest news of the week, but it's really come to a head because so many people are talking about freedom of speech and how we should be allowed to speak and shouldn't let companies determine what we say to others and how we say it. But there's a couple different ways to view this. First off, specifically on Rainbow Six Siege, Ubisoft has instantly banned people who are saying specific words in online chat rooms. And a lot of people aren't taking too kindly to this because they feel like it's imposing on their rights to free speech. But as we all know, these are private companies. They're allowed to do whatever they want on their servers. And if you want to do whatever you want on your server, start your own company and say what you want on it. But I'd be interested in your take on how you feel about Ubisoft insta-banning people. I wonder about if they're going to be doing it by accident, if the computer system's going to mishear something, especially if people don't speak the language clearly and perfectly. If there are going to be errors with that, how many problems it's going to have to follow up and being unbanned and what it's going to take, and all the hoops you need to go through. If people could just stop being assholes online, that would be incredible. But I'd love to hear your take on this. Do you feel like the toxicity in online gaming is coming to a point where companies need to start banning people outright because of their views and opinions? And do you feel like that could be a slippery slope towards getting their views and agendas across? I know that's a stretch, but if you do look at it from the perspective of a company getting an agenda across, it does give them an awful lot of power. So I do see the other side of this. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I could see where people arguing this are coming from. Next up, I want to talk about RPG Maker MV, and this game is coming soon to the Nintendo Switch among a bunch of other consoles. But specifically for the Switch, it presents an interesting scenario because the games you'll be making in RPG Maker MV will cost you money to buy the game to make the actual RPGs. But if you want to play the games, it's free. You don't need to buy the game. And I wonder about this decision by NIS and if it's something that's going to play out in a positive way or if it's going to ruin the sales of the game. Because for me personally, I have so many RPGs to catch up on already. And I love the idea of making my own RPG. Don't know if I really necessarily have the time, so clearly it's not necessarily directed and marketed right at me. But as far as the average casual gamer out there, are they going to have the time to make their own RPGs and spend money on a game to do so? Or do you feel like they're just going to download the free version of it to play the RPGs that have been created by others? Wonder if that's going to impact the sales overall on this game. It could go either way, to be honest. More people might want to actually buy the game because they played the free version, they saw what other people created, and it inspired them to make their own. Or you could look at it the way I'm looking at this, saying they're not going to have any motivation to want to buy the game if they can just play all the free RPGs that they want, especially if they're organized from best to worst, some sort of rating system and everything like that. There'd be no reason to actually buy the game unless you're hardcore intent on building the RPG yourselves. But let me know your take on that one, and if you plan on buying the full game or if you're just fine with playing the free version of it. And finally, we have Microsoft in the news, teasing an all-new Xbox hardware being debuted at Gamescom in Germany next month. But don't get your hopes necessarily up for an actual console. All rumors seem to be pointing to a brand new Pro controller, overhauling the previous Pro controller. This time, based off the images that have already been leaked online, having a USB-C port for charging, Bluetooth support for Windows 10, 3-level hair trigger locks, longer key travel for paddles, and 3 different profiles to be able to switch between on the controller. And I would imagine what they're going to be announcing at Gamescom would be along the lines of this instead of another console, because the rumors with Microsoft's next console is it's not even going to be announced until 2020. So anything earlier than that would be a complete shock, especially at Gamescom. That would be a really weird place to announce anything spectacular like that. But I'll be watching just to see. I'm intrigued to see what they have to announce. Be interested on your take on that as well. What do you think Microsoft's going to be announcing? And are you excited about a new potential Pro controller? Or do you not really care? You're fine with what you already have. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode. Again, if you enjoy what I'm doing here and you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If you want notifications, hit the notification bell, and hopefully YouTube works with that. If you enjoy the Smash JT show, come back every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. I also make other content throughout the week. Thank you so much for watching, and you guys stay sexy.